We used it from last week.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. As we are continuing in Hilchot Shabbat, and we're in our third shir in the halachot of Muktzeh. Amen. And last week we completed the category of Muktzeh that's known as Kli Shemelachtai Le'Isr. And the highlights of Kli Shemelachtai Le'Isr was that you're allowed to move it l'tzarech mekoymai, l'tzarech gufai, either for the place or for its own purpose, such as using a hammer because you need the table, moving the hammer, or using the hammer to crack a walnut. And we saw that you're not allowed to move it from the sun to the shade, meaning you're not allowed to protect it, to move it in order to protect it. That would not be allowed, but we saw ways that even that would be allowed, whether it be a shinoi, whether it be for later, whether it be with intentions. And that was the highlights of Kli Shemelachtai Le'Isr. We defined Kli Shemelachtai Le'Isr. Now we're going to start Kli Shemelachtai Le'Heter. We're on page 257. Also want to make an announcement that the next volume already will publish, and we'll probably get there in a few weeks from now, but we need to look to acquire them as well. All right, let's start Kli Shemelachtai Le'Heter.
Behind Tzurba.
Who is behind Tzurba? Harav Al-Ghazi. Al-Ghazi.
Oh, El Ghazi. No, I know.
Rav Ben Zion Al-Ghazi.
I know.
לא פה.
Oh, not here, from Eretz
לא
Yisrael.
באמריקה?
עכשיו אלגזי אתה מדבר ליד 41.
כן, אני זוכר אותו לפני 40 שנה.
No, this is a different Rav. This is Rav Ben Zion Al-Ghazi. He's Rosh Yeshivat Hester of Ramat Gan.
כן?
Okay, and he started the Tzurba program under the encouragement of Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, Zechat Tzadik U'Bracha. Mordechai Eliyahu told him to start this program, and he started it, and we've been enjoying the benefits of this beautiful program. Okay. Tan Rabbanon. We're in source number 1 on page 257. Tan Rabbanon, B'Rishayna, you're only allowed to move 3 kelim on Shabbat. Remember, this was the time of Nehemiah. Okay? During the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, there was rampant Chil Shabbat. Okay? So the Chachamim said everything is asur to move.
A lot of the wives, they were goyot.
Everyone, it was Chil everything. But so Nehemiah came, and in order to re-emphasize Shabbat, he assured everything. You're not allowed to move anything. Okay? The only things that were allowed to move was a knife for cutting a dried fig cake, a spoon and a fork to clean the pot, and a small knife that's on the table. That was the only thing that was allowed. But then, as the Chachamim after Nehemiah saw people started to keep Shabbat better, so Hitiru, they came and they allowed and they allowed and they allowed until we have what we have today, the Muktzeh halachot of today. Okay, now we saw this Gemara already before, but let's read it. Amarava, Hitiru davar shemelachtai leheter. They allowed us to move a davar shemelachtai leheter, something that its malacha is leheter. And we'll give examples of what they are. Spoon, cup, a plate. Okay, davar shemelachtai leheter. When you're allowed to move it, ben letzarech gufay, if you need it, or ben letzarech mekoymai, if you need its space. And then they came and they mattered even what? To move it from the sun to the shade, meaning you're allowed to move it even to protect it.
Right.
So I'm not using it and I don't need the space, but I'm protecting it. I left out my china out, my plates and dishes outside on the porch. It's starting to rain. I don't want it to get all ruined from the rainwater, whatever it is. It has some decorations on it, and I'm allowed to bring it in. That's when it comes to the davar shemelachtai, the kli shemelachtai leheter.
You can say maybe because you might gonna use it because davar shemelachtai leheter.
Okay, so Chaim is touching on: do I need to use it, or is it not muktzeh and I can always move it?
Just said that
But it's I'm moving it from the sun to the shade. You're going to get into this. This is going to come up. We're going to see there are different categories of davar shemelachtai leheter. There's going to be something that's not muktzeh. You can always move it no matter what. And there's going to be something that you can only move it if it's tzarech mekayim, tzarech gufay, or in order to protect it. Let's get into the
Let's say a
Rambam.
chair.
Yeah.
A person sit on a chair.
So we have to
You
define it.
could move it anytime you want.
Let's see. Rambam. We're going to see it's not that simple. You can't always move it around the chair. If you have no need to move it at all, you can't move it. We'll see. Rambam. Kol keli shemelachti leheter behaya shel eitz or shel cheres or shel even or shel metechet mutter letaltel loy b'Shabbat. You're allowed to move it around on Shabbat. Bein b'shvil atzmoi shel keli. Bein letzarech mekoymoi. Bein letzarech gufoi. Okay? So b'shvil atzmoi shel keli, in order to protect the keli. Bein letzarech mekoymoi. Bein letzarech gufoi. You need the space. You want to use the keli, or for the keli itself in order to protect it. Okay, so ben b'shvil atzma shel keli is like the example of moving it out of the sun to the shade for the keli's sake. Tzarech gufay is to use the keli.
Yeah.
Tzarech gufay is to use the keli. Okay, and that's the way the Rambam ruled. So now the Maggid Mishnah is going to make a diak in the Rambam, and his diak is you're only allowed to move it for some purpose. But moving it for no purpose, that's not going to be allowed. Says the Maggid Mishnah. If you're moving around for no reason, you're not allowed to remove it. All right? And it says the Rashba, when the Rambam said you're allowed to move the Klisha Melachta Leheter, the Rambam said that you're allowed to move it in order to protect it. You're allowed to move it in order to use it, or to use its space. He's giving you the times when you're not allowed to use it, not that you're allowed to move it always. So said the Maggid Mishnah, and says the Rashba as well. And says this is also what comes down in the Gemara. Why? He says, Rava says, a Klisha Melachta Leheter, you're allowed to move it even from the sun to the shade. Why did you say from the sun to the shade? If it's true that a klisha malachta lehet you can always move it, then just say you can always move it. It can always be moved. Why are you telling me mechamal itself? Right? They said this is what happens. This is what comes out. But then he brings v'yesh v'farshim matirin klisha malachta leheter afil shelo tzarich klal. Ve'ein lahem al masha yismechu, says the Maggid Mishnah. There is nothing to rely on. Meaning, a davar shemalachta, a kli shemalachta laheter, you're only allowed to move it if you have a need to move it, not stam, just to move it for no reason. What? For example, a chair. Okay, so I'm allowed to move the chair if I need the space. I'm allowed to use the chair if I want to sit in it, and I'm allowed to move the chair in order to protect it. Stam to move a chair because I have nothing better to do would not be allowed in Shabbat. Okay, well, we have to define if pork is a klisha lachta leheter or is it not muktzeh at all. We'll have to see soon.
Look, בדרך כלל, you're moving things because you need the place, or you need it, or all these kind of other things. You just don't have nothing to do. You move things from place to place just because you have nothing to do.
Even when they answered everything,
Yeah.
it was always allowed the pork and the food.
Okay.
Something you said that.
Yeah. So we're gonna see also the shilting environment. Let's see. All right, you're saying very good. Okay, the Ran also says, okay, umiu, I feel him never came the kelish from lachta leheter shlo letzarich klal also letatlo haini mili bekalim. This is only bekalim. Of the Sifrei HaKodesh v'oichlin ein lanu. We don't have this thing that you cannot move it for no reason. Kalim is kalim. So then you can't move it for no reason. Yeah. So he's saying, the Ran is saying, but don't think Sifrei Kodesh, don't think that Svarim and food is a Klisha Malachta Leheter, and therefore only can move when you have a purpose. No, you can always move a Svarim and food. It was never aser. Anyone who's machmer and doesn't carry it, he has to bring the riot. The guy was bringing the chumrah. He says you can't move the svarim unless you have a purpose for it. That guy has to bring the riot that you can't do that. Says Iran, So turns out the Ran says that svarim and food are not muktzeh at all. They're not even a klish malach letter. There is no isser on it at all. You can do whatever you want. You can move it around all day on Shabbat, no problem. Okay, let's take a look at Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch in source number 5. He writes the din as follows: Klish malach to leheter mutter letatalo filu enu letzarech hakeli enu el letzarech hakeli shemen yishaver or yiganav, whether it gets broken or gets stolen, so therefore you're allowed to move it to protect it. Avo shaloi letzarech klal, but to move it, stam to move. I have no reason to move it. I'm just moving it. Also letatalo, you're not allowed to move it. Now kisvei hakodesh ve'oichlin, svarim and food, mutter letatalo mafilu shaloi letzarech klal. Even you have no reason to move it. So he brings the way the Maggid Mishnah learns the Rambam, and he brings the way the Ran learns the Sugya. That's why Shulchan Aruch is he gives the halacha. So it comes out is a klish malach leheter. You're allowed to move it for its place, move for its use, and you're allowed to move it to protect it. But you're not allowed to move it around for no reason. Stuff that are excluded from the klish malach leheter, books, svarim. Let's use the word svarim, Sefer Kodesh. And food so far. Okay. Now, Tosfot says, he wants to say what Lavi was saying right before, that even in the time of Nehemiah, it was permitted to move these kalims because they were used to hold food. So there was never a muktzeh status on utensils. This list only includes utensils that cannot hold food. So when we're saying kalisha melachtoi leheter, we're meaning kalim that are not holding food. It's obvious that they would move cups, bowls, and plates. Obviously, during the times of Nehemiah, when they're sitting on the Shabbos table, they're going to move plates. They're going to move cups. They're going to move these things. So there was never a din muktzah on them. They're not even, if I'm understanding the Tosfos correctly, the way he wants to say it, is that it's not even considered muktzah. Not even considered keshim lach to leheter.
You can play with it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about pork.
He's saying no anything that's used for eating.
No,
The karois.
They eat with their hands. They eat with their hands.
Knife cutting the cake of dried fish. This list only includes utensils that cannot hold food, and it is obvious that they would move cups, bowls, and plates.
Right. They said these three things when Nehemiah is matter, he said you're allowed to touch was the knife, was the spoon, the fork, right? So the spoon, the fork, and the small knife. Why he only gave this on his list that was these are only three things you're allowed to move in Shabbat? No. Cups and bowls and plates are definitely allowed to move. There's no problem with it at all. Take a look at the Shiltei Giborim. Shiltei Giborim, what does he write over here? He writes the Pizza, Koisais, Vikaros, and these plates and these knives, right? The knives are for the figs, and combined spoon and fork, and a pot, and a small knife that's on the table, right? For no purpose whatsoever, they were not prohibited to be moved. So then he says, you're allowed to move it. Nerishim eternal taltalin, that they're the mutter to move. They were never made in Isser. So the Shiltei Giborim wants to say that forks and spoons and these type of things, it's not a klish malach leheter. There's no muktzah at all. You can always move it, no matter what. Okay, so that is different, by the way, than the Ran. Right? We saw the Ran. The Ran said only Sifrei Kodesh and Oichlin. And Kalim, he said, you can't move it around for no reason. He explains that a spoon to clean something, to clean the filth. Like what's it called? The slotted spoon? Yeah.
The combined
Spoon fork. Yes. What's that? What's that called? Combined sport. There you go. Okay. So let's take a look at the Mishnah Brura. So we have here, by the way, about the utensils. You have a machloket. You have the Ran and you have the Shiltei Giborim. So let's see over here. Mishnah Brura. Mishnah Brura says as follows. So he's bringing from the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch said if you have no reason to move it, don't move it. That's if you don't need it the entire day. But if you need it at some point in the day, and he wants to move it now, even though he's not going to use it till later, he's still allowed to move it. So when he says lo tzarich klal, means you have no reason to move it, no reason to move it the whole day. But if I have this chair in the morning and I want to move it from here to there, I'm not using it until Sudash Shilishi, right? Until the afternoon, I can move it. That's not considered lo tzarich klal, says the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah means I have no reason at all to move this chair. Okay, fine. And then he writes, and the same applies to cups, bowls, plates, and a knife that's on the table. Since they are used regularly, right? Since they are used regularly, there is lo chol aleyu taras muktzeh klal. There is no muktzeh on spoons, forks, and all these type of things that you use, since they're used regularly. Therefore, it's submitted to move them, even for no purpose. And there are those who are machmer on these. So let's take now a look at the Chazon Avadia. Let's take a look at the Chazon Avadia. Here you have Chacham Avadia, and he writes, "What's a keli shemalach to the heter? Keli shemalach to the heter. Kegoin kois. Ha'omer l'shtia." So says Chacham Avadia that a cup you drink from, that's a keli shemalach to the heter. That means you can only move it if you're moving it for a reason, right? The karais and plates and bowls, stuff that you're going to eat from, a knife, okay? You're only allowed to move it for a reason. So we have here Sfaradim and Ashkenazim. We have the Ashkenazim taking the Shetei Giborim and the Tosfot and saying that clay Suda, the utensils using in the Suda, no muktzeh on it at all. It's not even a klishulach letter. You can move it everywhere you want the entire day, no problem. Where Chacham Avadia is going with the Magid Mishnah and the Ran, that's saying nope. The utensils using the Suda is the klishim malach to the heter, and you're only allowed to move it for a reason. Okay? That's what we come out with over here. And now, says the Ketzot HaShulchan in source number 10, he says the same applies to clothes and jewelry. Shemutarim b'tatelo afil shelo letzorich kimo sefarim v'chen hamadavar. This is the practice. Who is the Ketzot HaShulchan? Who is the I think it's Ashkenaz. That's Vadei HaShulchan. Yeah, Vadei HaShulchan. I believe it's Ashkenaz. So he writes that clothing and jewelry has no din muktzeh on it at all. It's not a klishim lach letter. You're allowed to move it all the time. So let's take a look. I brought down some halachot outside the Tzurba now. We take a look at the Yalkut Yosef, and then we take a look at the laws of Shabbat. Let's take a look at a couple of the halachot, how they bring them down over here on a klishim lach letter, or is it not even muktzeh b'chlal? Okay. Page 204. Here he brings you stuff that are examples of what's a klishim malach leheter. Chairs, tables, okay, and clothes. So far, that's what he writes in the first halacha here. Kisei, safsal, malbushim, right, clothing, all these things.
Everything what you need for Shabbat.
However, you're not allowed to move it for no reason.
The chair that it's sitting on, you can move.
Yeah.
To use it,
What do you
You can move it. To protect it, you can move it.
אבל סתם להזיז אותם בגלל ההלכה, אין בעלי.
מי עושה בשביל
בספרדי אין בעלי.
לא, אבל הוא רוצה לנקות לא, לנקות את הבית.
לנקות את הבית.
לנקות את הבית הוא אומר שלא.
למה לא?
הוא אמר שלא.
What did I say?
To clean the house.
Yeah, you can't.
What? You want to clean the house? You say already you are allowed to sweep the house. You say already. Yes, to sweep.
The guest left. I'm gonna put the tables and chairs away.
When we were talking about that time, that was a kishlach lister,
Oh,
and we said we can't move it because cleaning the house is not considered tzarech mekaymoy.
only the top.
Right, it wasn't considered tzarech. Then those who said it was tzarech mekaymoy.
Right.
This is machlokas. If it's like considered tzarech mekaymoy, that's lach lister. Here shemalach leheter. Can you move it? Can you clean it up? Can you put it away? It's a kishlach letter. Does it fit either the option? Tzarech Mekaimai? Is it Tzarech Mekaimai? Is there a Tzarech?
It's what? To clean the house?
Is that a Tzarech? Because Tzarech Mekaimai, Tzarech Guvai, or protection. So you're moving it to protect
If
it.
the kids,
No?
they make a mess, and
There's a guest coming.
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure.
what do you do? We say already for Hashvat Gumot you are not allowed. But today, because we have Mirza food, we have a nice.
No,
nice
not because of the sweetener. I'm talking about that. Right. Let me just go through these really quick. Then he says over here, you cannot carry a chair or a stender or a table for that without any purpose. Right? It's Kimshalach Leheter. But then he writes, you're allowed to move for no reason, like the Ran. You're allowed to move it. One second. Let's talk about the clean in a second. Even if it's a torn page, even if the books are in a farm store, right, and they're for sale, they still considered you're allowed to move them. No problem. Right? That's not like jewelry and other stuff. What about, because Purim is coming up, what about a Megillah on Shabbat?
You don't need Megillah. You don't need Megillah.
Shabbat, it might be Muktzeh.
He's right. He's right.
This Shabbat is a Shalosh Purim.
Okay.
So this Shabbat is a Purim in Yerushalayim. So
Right.
it could be Gzera on the whole
No,
world.
זה
Then
מותר.
you can't move the Megillah. Shema titaltel oto b'Yerushalayim.
Because remember, on the day that you have to read Megillah, right, and then you're not allowed to carry it on Shabbat because you would have to use it, right? Moshe Fine, other things. So he writes over here on those years when 15 Adar coincides with Shabbat, the Megillah scroll is Muktzeh on that day. Then he writes here in those cities where the halacha requires it to be read. Okay, so walled cities. So not here. Now he writes this in the English. In the Hebrew, he doesn't write it. He doesn't write only there. And
Take it in English.
because he writes the 15th of Shabbat. Also, the Tata to Megillah Shabbos Zukid Muktzeh. Shkiv Shigaz Chazal. Shalik Megillah Esar Shabbos Purim. Gizer Shem Yaven Arba Amos B'Rishus Rabim. Yesh Shalei Teres Muktzeh. Of B'Shar Shabbos Shana Mutl Tatla Shroyehi Likroba. Because you can read on it. So he doesn't say only in that city, but here in the English, when Rabbi Bitan puts it together, he writes it's only in the city that you can read it. Because Namaisa here in New York, there's no Gizera not to take it outside because you're not reading it. Right. So that's interesting when it comes to the Megillah. The next halakha. Okay, food and beverages. Ochlin. You can move them around for no reason. Okay? That's like the Ran. Ochlin and Sifri Kaddish. You're allowed to move it around for no reason. Here we look next. Okay. And that, by the way, it applies to all food that is edible, even if it's frozen. Right? Frozen food is still considered edible. You're allowed to take it out. You're allowed to move it around. Aside for fish. Chicken also is a... We'll get into that. Maybe the dinner are slightly
Talking about
changed on that.
chicken is not cooked.
You're allowed to move around raw meat. Because apparently raw meat is
They
edible.
are allowed.
Yeah.
Fish is also.
But today, we'll get into that when we get to further on. We'll talk about that later. Okay. Okay.
לא, רוב מיט שחטו את המבולת, ניקו אותה והכל,
They sell it.
ניקו אותה
Okay.
ולא בישלו.
רבותיי.
במסעדות, כן.
Beef tartare or something like that.
with the raw egg on top.
שתלך למסעדה,
וואו.
שתלך למסעדה, תסתכל על הפיליפ, כתוב טנדר.
הלו, מי זה המסעדות
Every time we go to food, we go that way. Okay, רבותיי. He says over here that plates, cups, forks, knives, l'svaradim is considered a kli shemelachto leheter. You can only move it for a reason. You cannot move it for no reason. Okay. Furthermore, clothing and jewelry may be moved for any purpose. The clothing and jewelry he brings over here. He brings it from Chazon Avadia. He brings it. The clothing and jewelry is not considered kli shalach letter. There's no muktzeh, nothing in it at all. You can move it around for no reason.
What? Or coat
What?
in the summer. Who needs the coat in the summer?
Jewelry is only muktzeh because of hotza'ah and because of taking it out. Not that it's muktzeh. Yeah, issue of Shema Yitzhak, right? They're gonna carry it.
What about glasses, Rabbi Shimonov?
What?
Somebody's glass. Somebody asks, "Can you bring my glasses?" I bring the glasses. It's not my glasses. Somebody else's glasses. I don't need them on Shabbat. Somebody else's. For them, it's okay to bring them.
How do you say? How do you classify glasses? Well, at the least, it's a klisha malachta leheter, right? I don't think it's even.
Not for me, for someone else.
I don't think it's muktzeh at all. I don't think a glasses is muktzeh at all.
Because he's saying somebody else.
You take it out for no reason. Can I take it out for no reason, or take it out?
No, you move. What's the problem?
No, he wants to know if it's not muktzeh. His glass is muktzeh. No, it's not muktzeh.
If it's the reading one,
Okay, here, for example, he writes, a bathing suit is not considered muktzeh. Right? A bathing suit, you think maybe a bathing suit is considered muktzeh in the winter. No, he says not. It could be worn even when one is not swimming. Some guy wants to walk around the house in the bathing suit. What can you do? So it's not muktzeh. Right? It's not muktzeh. Clothing is not muktzeh.
A coat in the summer.
So what?
I'm in Arizona, Phoenix.
So what?
It's 100 degrees
It's clothing.
outside.
It's clothing.
What do I need a coat for?
It's clothing. Clothing is not muktzeh. Okay. Sfarim, Sifrei Torah. All these books, they're not even, it's not a kli shalach leheter. You're allowed to move them for no reason at all. Even sfarim that are meant to be sold. Pieces of paper that have Torah written on them. Okay? Plaques or framed pages of Birkat Torah, Berch Shemeh, Misheberach, right? These type of signs. All these things are allowed to be moved. We talked about Megillat Esther already.
What about secular books?
Secular books. Okay, so
math books, science books, kids' science books from school.
It gets a little tricky when it comes to secular books. But most secular books should not be permitted to be read on Shabbat unless
Like
there's
science,
some
universe, those kind of
so
things.
it comes to medical books, scientific books, stuff like this. There could be heterim to read them on Shabbat. But we're gonna get into those halachot later. Again, books such as medical books and other science type of books might be permitted to be used on Shabbat. It might be able to be moved. Phone book, you're allowed to move around. I mean, when there was phone book, because you can look up someone's address on Shabbat. I want to know where Lavi lives. I can look it up.
The phone book is the phone book.
Okay. Food that is meant for human consumption may be moved even for no purpose at all. Like the Ran said, you can move it around. Same holds true. Food that's only fit for animals is not considered muktzeh, provided that there's an animal around. Okay, either in your household or one in somewhere nearby. Even foods that are forbidden for human consumption but permitted to derive benefit from, right, such as nevela, right, also not considered muktzeh since they can be given to one's animal or to a non-Jew. Okay, fine. That's when it comes to foods. Fine. Now we're gonna get into the raw fish and the raw meat later. All right, so let's save it for that. All right, so it comes out, Rabotai, jewelry, clothing, food, and Sifrei Kodesh. Right, all these are not considered kli shalach leheter. There's no din muktzeh. You can always move it for whatever reason. You don't need a reason to move it. Everything else that's kli shalach leheter, you need a reason to move it, either tzarech l'kayma, tzarech gufay, or in order to protect it. Okay, let's move on to the next category of muktzeh, and that is muktzeh machmat chisrain kis. All right, this is where it's an item that it's muktzeh due to financial loss. Okay, people. Let's question if a phone is.
Said no.
iPhone? $800?
It depends. Well,
$1,200?
it depends. It depends. We're gonna see that perhaps the Muktzeh Machmas Chistron Kiss. It really depends on the individual. All right, it might depend on the individual. Some people, you have a fancy iPhone, but they don't care if it falls 10 times, right? Because they have. Some people are more. Okay, let's take a look. Let's go through it. I thought we'd go faster. Okay. All right. Says Rabbi Yossi, you can move all kalim somehow, it's our makam, it's our kufa, whatever it is, but chutz, except for this what large saw and the blade of a plow. Since they have to be very sharp and ready for use, and there's concern they might be damaged, one sets them aside and doesn't use them for any other purpose. So these are special tools that I don't use for anything else. Rav Nachman says, a launderer's sprinkler is considered to be like the blade of a plow. You're not allowed to move it. What? Moel's knife is one of them. That's true. A shoemaker's knife, a butcher's knife, a carpenter's draw knife. Okay? All these are considered like the blade of a plow because their owners set them aside out of concern they might be damaged. So as a jeweler, what tool do you have that you don't use for anything else? Okay, so you have certain type of tools that you only use it for that. You don't want to use anything else, otherwise it's going to get ruined. Says the Gemara, in source number 12, Muktzeh machmas chesron kes afil Rabbi Shimon moide. Rabbi Shimon is very maker when it comes to Muktzeh. When it comes to chesron kes, he says there is such Muktzeh over here. That's not that we saw. You can move all types of objects on Shabbat except for these, as they are Muktzeh machmas chesron kes. All right. Tosfot says what?
By wedding, so he has.
That's a guitar. That's
He assigns a value and he doesn't use it for something else. Let's see. Okay. Here the Tosfot says a butcher's knife. So Muktzeh machmas chesron kis v'yesh lizar shalal l'taltala afilu l'tzarech gufay. Okay, so Tosfot says Muktzeh machmas chesron kis. You're not allowed to even move it. L'tzarech gufay. If you're actually going to use it, you can't move it. It's usher to move. Says the Shulchan Aruch. Kol ha'kainat l'mishabat chutz memuktzeh machmas chesron kis. You can't move it at all. Kegon sakin shel shchita, like a shchita knife, or shel milah, or a knife for milah. Okay, and what's this? And a scissor of the barber. Okay, and the knife of the sofrim. Since people are particular, right? Shemakpidim shelo la'asot behem tashmish acher. Also tatalo b'Shabbos v'afil l'tzarech mekaymer l'tzarech gufay. You cannot move it, even if you need the spot. You can't even use it. Move it to use it. You can't move it. And says the Ramah, "V'hu adin kelam yuchadim l'schayra u'mafkid aleim." Same thing is true if you have merchandise to sell, and you're makpid that it should be in a pristine state. It means you're not going to use it before you sell it. You have to keep it in the box or whatever. You make sure it's clean because no one's going to buy it. If it's damaged, that would also be considered muktzeh machmas chesron kis, even though it might be klishim lachtel heter if it was yours, or klishim lachtel iser. Let's not say klishim lachtel heter. Okay, let's say if it's a klishim lachtel iser and it's yours and you could use it if you have a use for it. But if it's merchandise, says the Ramah, it's now muktzeh machmas chesron kis, and you can't move it, even though it's becoming tzarech gufay.
He is a barber.
Yeah.
He has the scissors that he's very careful with. Let's say regular scissors that the kids have that they use to cut tape or all that. Is that also considered to be
No, that's exactly the example. Beautiful. So scissors, the stam scissors, you have a reason to move it, you can move it. A scissor that is specific for a barber, that's now a muktzeh machmas chesron kis, and you can't move it.
I don't know if it has a value to it, and you need to move it. I'll move it because
If it has a value to you.
Has a value to you. It becomes Muktzeh, Machmas, Chesron, and Kes, and you can't move it at all.
That includes the wallet also?
The wallet is the issue of money. Money is Muktzeh, Machmas, Gufa from itself.
Gufa, right?
It's its
And
own
car keys
Muktzeh.
also?
Because you have no. You say again.
The car keys.
Say again. I
Also?
didn't hear you.
Car keys.
Car keys may not even be Muktzeh, especially the ones that have the old car keys, because you can actually open it, not the one with the buttons, but the actual car key. You can take it out, you can use it to open the door if your car, the lights won't go on and stuff like that, like the old cars. So then it would be permissible. Today,
But
it
the
would not
buttons?
be able. Now, because the buttons, you can't.
It's Gufo, right? Gufo.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right, let's go through the sugya, and you're going to have a clearer understanding. And then you're going to come out with the questions. Let's see. Rambam, source 15. Listen to Rambam's definition. Kol keli shemakpid alav shema. That what? That its price will go down. Going kalim, right? Such that for schayra, that are for business, for merchandise. The kalim hayikarim, stuff that are very expensive. The yoitish magalem shema yifsadu. Maybe they're going to go down. Asr l'tatlum b'Shabbos v'zehu anikra muktzeh machmas chesron kish. No, you can't move it. Can't move it. Perhaps.
זה המקום הקבוע שלו, נכון? אבל הטלפון זה לא המקום הקבוע שלו, הוא תקוע עם הצבע לקרן.
זהו, נגמר.
Maybe.
זה לא יעזור לך.
Yes, you know, this is it. You say it over there, over the
Okay, the only way to move Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kes will be Tiltum and Atzad, which we're going to talk about in the future. Okay, but let's not get in there right now. Now,
you cannot take the chair now.
right, it becomes a buses. Okay, we're going to get into that. I cannot move one step. Listen first. Okay, the Mishnah Berurah says similarly. Right, Slammer, a few occasions like listener. You can move it. Right, Slammer, Machmas Shash Hepson, who makpid aleim, shlo tatlam, and puts them out of and he puts them out of his mind. So that's what he defines over here. So says the Beit Yosef. What type of merchandise does the Rambam mean is Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kes? It's when it's careful not to move lest they get damaged. But if one is not careful, for what? The last piece he said? He's saying, he's defining Chesron Kes. No.
You can use it either way.
No, when the Shulchan Aruch said, look back in Shulchan Aruch. When Shulchan Aruch and the Gemara said, Kol HaKelim you can move on Shabbat, how can you move all the Kelim? Oh, Chishim Lachnas you're allowed to move. But Chesron Kes you can't move at all. Okay? And then he defines Chesron Kes as something that you're worried is going to get devalued. The Beit Yosef says, you guys got to pay attention to what type of schayra, what type of merchandise is us to move around, says the Beit Yosef. It is only merchandise that you're worried is going to get damaged. Okay? But if you're not worried about it getting damaged, then it's not going to be considered Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kes. That's when it's chayra.
No, he has a problem with it. He says, yeah, I'm worried about it being damaged. If I leave it on the table, it's for sure going to get damaged. So I told him, if you were so worried about it, why didn't you do it on Friday?
It's merchandise.
His phone.
Forget the phone 1 minute. Hold on. I'm not up to the phone yet. Guys. I'm not up to the phone yet. Okay. Take a look at the Alka Joseph. Source 18. Then Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kes Tolui. What is it totally in? Each person. Okay? What are you makpid on? Are you, okay, you're not gonna tell them, so it's Muktzeh Machmas Kiss.
Okay, so what's the definition?
אז
עכשיו השאיר את זה על השולחן, he left it on the table.
Yeah.
אני רוצה לארוחת שבת, שלא יפול עליו מים, שתייה,
הוא
אוכל,
אומר לך
רוטב.
שמותר לך להזיז אותו.
ואיפה כתוב את זה?
18.
לא,
דין מוקצה.
ולכן אין בעל מקפידים להשתמש בו לדבר אחר. לא הביא מוקצה לדידו, אף שאחרים הם מקפידים שלא להשתמש בחפץ זה לדברים אחרים. So, the Yalkut Yosef wants to say, we're not talking about moving it yet. Let's just get through the definitions here.
הוא לא מקפיד לדבר אחר. הוא לא משתמש בטלפון למשהו אחר.
אני רוצה לראות כמה אני מקפיד, תיגע בו.
הנה, ראית?
אני לא...
אז הוא מקפיד. אתה מקפיד?
Okay.
יפה, זה...
Okay, רבותיי. Yalkut Yosef gives some examples of what's considered Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kiss. So, an aerogram is a piece of paper that can be folded and sent as a letter. An unstamped postage stamp, postcards, passport, camera. Right? So every phone has a camera on it. Security certificates, a Mila knife, Shchita knife, Sofer's knife, expensive candelabras, okay? Checks, Sofer's parchment, vinyl records. Okay, this is the time when they had vinyl records. You still have that. See, their value, right? And similar to those. Okay. What's with the paper? The Shita Giborim writes that blank paper is muktzeh. And it appears that it's Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kiss.
הוא מקפיד on it.
Okay.
I have a legal paper. I don't know. יאללה, תזיז את זה. Today is what costs you less than a penny.
Here because if there's a paper that's a drop vent, they throw it out.
Yeah, mainly it's a contract or maybe...
Okay, so hold on. So the one second before we move on to there.
Maybe back when they wrote it.
Right. So hold on. The Prima Godim writes the paper is only muktzeh if one specifically, particularly not to use it for other purposes. But if you use paper for something else, then it's not going to be considered muktzeh machmas chesron kiss. They asked the Rav Moshe Feinstein, pieces of paper, are they considered muktzeh machmas chesron kiss? And he wrote, indeed they are, and it remains true even today. Said Rav Moshe. But today, most people say that the writing paper, writing or printing paper. So the paper. Today they want to classify it as a kli shemalachta le'isser. Since nowadays it's very easy to attain such paper, and people are not particular about it, right? The kids go and take your copy paper. Your kids take your and you're not screaming at them, right? So therefore, he says that paper today is not a muktzeh machmas chesron kiss. Rather, it's muktzeh as a kli shemalachta le'isser. He writes, however, there might be some types of special types of paper. Maybe those will still have the din of machmas chesron kiss.
Okay. There's a question on the chat.
Okay, for a married couple, do the same items remain this type of muktzeh? I don't understand. Do the same items remain this type of muktzeh?
Whether you're single, whether you're married, it's all the same.
Yeah. You're saying if one spouse is more particular and values something, and the other spouse doesn't. So for one, it's a muktzeh machmas chesron kiss, and the other one doesn't say it's chesron kiss.
Doesn't care.
That's a very good question. I guess I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want to say. I'm thinking there's a couple of tzadim to think over here. You're saying it depends on me, but I think it depends on the owner. Totally b'kfidasam shel haba'alim, says the Yalkut Yosef, right?
Who's the Baal?
The Baal is the guy who owns the item. Are you saying the married couple? They're married.
He's the Baal and he's the one who decides. Or is it something that she came in?
It's a good question. It's a good question. Rabbi.
No, the why is not makpid, they can move it. Because for him it's not...
Okay, it's a good question. Piskei Tshuvot. Uzmanenu kol sugei machshirim elektronim. Oh, here he goes, electronics. Piskei Tshuvot. Piskei Tshuvot. No, hold on.
So valuable. You don't want it to destroy.
No, that's why it's Muktzeh. That's why it's Muktzeh. Piskei Tshuvot says, today all electronics Rabotai, today all electronics, says the Piskei Tshuvot, is Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish. All electronics. He says, for example, computers and phones and other delicate digital devices, they're all Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish. People are careful with them. But then he writes, it all depends on the individual. Yeah, what? Case? So that's why he doesn't care. So he has like one of these Utterbox cases. So if the phone falls, nothing happens to it. I would say that at the end of the day, the item itself, it's still something that he values, right? If someone took it out of the case, he'd be very careful. So it would still be Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish. Point. Okay. Now the question is in the halakha. The question is, what becomes Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish? Meaning, a kli shemalachta leheter, can it become a Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish? Or only kli shemalachta leiser can become Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish?
No, both. You can do your Shabbat and you can use it.
No. A knife for Mila is not it's not heter on Shabbat. It's Teicha Shabbos.
So it's a tel.
I cannot use it on Shabbat to do shaykhet to make someone bleed. No, I cannot make brit milah on anybody on Shabbat with that knife. What? No, it only comes from Rissa. It's not even it's Teicha. Pushes away Shabbat to brit milah. Right? That's why it's the Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish. Okay, so the Shulchan Aruch Harav wants to say, Kelim ha'yikarim beyoter, afal pi she'ein l'schayra, elu shemelachtem le'iser, u'makvid aleihem, v'nishtamish b'hem, tashmish acher, right? You don't want to get ruined. Also, l'tatel b'shavos afilu tzarech mekam, tzarech gufoy, v'zehu nikra Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish. It must be a kli shemelachtem le'iser that can become Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish. Okay? But however, on the other side of it, the Shmirat Shabbat Kilchata says, "Kol davar she'adam kover le'makom machmas archai harav is worth a lot, anything. Umakbish le'taltal to mechshash shema yitkalkel, kegoin sha'on kir, a wall clock, or a painting, tmuna." Omnotit shimakpid aleya, or a professional painting, a very special painting. Gam zeh beklal Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish. So you have the Shulchan Aruch Harav that says kli shemalachta leheter cannot become Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish, and he has Shmirat Shabbat Kilchata that says it could become Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish.
But only something that you would never. You should be really, really careful.
Right. Heavy closet, which one's careful not to move. A refrigerator and stuff like this could be considered Muktzeh Machmas Chesron Kish. But you're allowed to open its doors.
Okay.
What?
I'm losing money, so because I'm losing money,
No, that's why there's no heter. That's why it's Muktzeh. There's no heter. That's why it's Muktzeh.
No.
What's the reason? What's going to happen if it's
The
going to
reason
move?
why the Torah does not want you to move it,
What's
it
the
doesn't
whole-
want you to be asuk with stuff that
Right.
you care about on Shabbat.
He's bringing the Rambam.
Don't
That's right.
touch it.
He decided that if I have a paycheck at $100,000, he's like, little bit less, so I'm not touching it.
Right.
It's nothing gonna happen. Hey,
No.
I'm talking
Not
about
because
something
you're
that
not-
is value and it's on the table. בתמונה לא תהיה on the table. Phone can be on the table. That's why חסרון כיס, it means I'm losing money.
Yes.
Yes. So there should be some head for me to save it.
So let's go back.
Expensive camera outside.
Let's go back to the Rambam. The Rambam gave 3 reasons why Muktzeh came to be in the first place, right? What were the 3 reasons the Rambam said there is Muktzeh? Number 1, so that one will not regard Shabbat as an ordinary weekday. What happens if you pick up something, right? All of a sudden, it's my phone, and I got to check this, and I got to check that, and try to check that. She says that Rambam, you're not allowed to pick up Muktzeh because of this. All right? To prevent getting involved with something usually used for forbidden malacha. And in order to make it a noticeable change on Shabbat. Based on these reasons, not to treat it as chol, not to get involved in malacha, and there should be a noticeable change, they put these dinim of Muktzeh involved. Now, based on the item, there are different halachot of what you can and cannot do with it. And since a Muktzeh, machmas, chesron, kish, is an item that you value so much, I'm understanding this now as being, you're going to get so involved in it because you're so careful that you're going to lose Shabbat. Pinchas has an example.
You have your camera outside and it's going to rain. Oh, somebody's going to steal it. Oh, you cannot leave it outside. You want to bring it inside. So why are you saying? He's right. He said you want to protect it. Otherwise, the Shabbat is not Shabbat.
Why do you do that without if it hurts you? The person, if
You know what? I'm gonna do different.
Yes.
You order camera on Amazon, and the camera is outside. You ordered it for Friday, they're gonna bring it to you 7 p.m. Now you tell me you have a
Kick it into the house and leave it on the floor. That's the
now
max
you
you can do.
exactly.
That's the max
So I
you
have
can do.
items. Sometimes I'm waiting for the delivery, and I'm coming home for vacation. I have an item that is $2,000 sitting in front of my door. What should I do?
This is already
You
something
tell me.
you did not.
No, you meant to go before, but they send it 2 days later. What are you gonna do? So that's why I'm telling you, the way they said it in Hebrew, it means that you have something to lose in it. That's why I'm gonna give you a turn, not to
There's
take
a
it
question on the chat.
or do something. Just
That's the worst Muktzeh. The worst
Rabbi
Muktzeh.
Moshe, there's a question on the chat.
Save the woman. Don't start going to the closet, opening. You
This is
understand?
allowed.
That's what I'm telling you.
No, it's law.
ברור לי שאסור להרים הטלפון של השולחן, like that, I understand. But I'm asking.
Wait, לא למדנו.
אמרנו את זה, אמרתי.
לא אמר.
הרב אמר, תדעו
הוא
מהצד
אמר,
מותר.
כן, כן. הוא אמר.
תדעו מהצד מותר. With your elbow like this, like that, you can do it. With your foot, you can do it. But it's not
What happens to the
ideal.
chair?
The whole idea of
So if the loop of the diamond dealer is something that he uses only for diamonds and he doesn't use it for anything else, yep, it might, and he has value to it, should be considered. Muktzeh, machmas, and kiss. Hearing aids are smart these days. Does this change their status? It depends what they do as smart hearing aids. If they're doing stuff that we Shabbat problems, then you have to look into it. We're understanding hearing aids are usually hearing aids that you turn them on and they continue to work. And it just amplifies the sound, and it's the same throughout. I don't know what smart hearing aids. Okay, fine. Okay, Abutai. I'm going to ask you, give me 5 minutes. Let me just to finish the sugya of Tzurba, Masma, Kiss. So we had here now in argument, if only a Klishim Malachtoi Le'Isser can become Muktzeh Machmas from Kiss, or even Klishim Malachtoi Le'Heter. Okay, what does Chamavaji hold? So take a look on page 268 on the top and pay on source 27. Says Yalkut Yosef, V'chol din Muktzeh Machmas Kisron Kiss Hurak V'Kelim Shemalachtem Le'Isser. It's only if it's a keli that's a malachter le'isser. Of a v'kelim shemalachtem le'heter, you can kelim yikorim ha'imdim le'noi. It's for decoration of the house, right? And especially they're used for decoration of the house. Do not stand to be used as merchandise or for a mitzvah. Right? Ain't oidum l'schayr l'mitzvah. Ain't behem din muktzah. Muktzeh letaltalem b'Shabbos af mechamel letzel kedin keli shemalachti leheter.
That's naked.
What?
Naked the tuna ones. Naked the.
So you're allowed to move a picture.
Move a picture,
That's what he's
you're allowed
saying.
to move-
Yep. It's keli shemalachti leheter, and you're allowed to move it.
You hear? You can move the clock on the wall.
So I'm gonna read to you now.
Clock too?
Why should I move a picture? עכשיו אתם שואלים
If it's
אותי.
keli shemalachti leheter, you're allowed to move it. Okay, hold on. I will tell you. Hold on. Don't throw me off here. Don't throw me off.
No, you can take it off the wall.
173.
You didn't say take
Take it off. Yeah.
You have to clarify there.
Take the wall out and that's it.
Take the wall out. No, you cannot take out the now.
The mice or
The items whose main function is permitted on Shabbat, such as expensive ornaments, with one decorates one home, are not muktzeh only be carried from the sun into the shade to protect them. Here is an example. We went through the example of Chesron Kiss. Expensive candelabra. Is it a klisha melachta le'isr or a klisha melachta le'heter? What is it?
זה כתוב ממש לא נכון. אני מחר אני אפוצץ אותו. עוד פעם.
So it's a machlokes. Expensive personal jewelry, such as a diamond ring, are not muktzeh machmas chesron kiss. But if you intend to sell the jewelry, it does gain the status of muktzeh machmas chesron kiss, which is hard to understand because where is the klisha melachta l'isser? Tovadya said that only klisha melachta l'isser can become muktzeh machmas chesron kiss. But then he writes jewelry, if you're planning to sell it, can become muktzeh machmas chesron kiss, but it's not klisha melachta l'isser. Saying it's another category, schora.
No, but
Okay.
jewelry is never a mitzvah keys because it's
But he
always
said only
considered to
one
be
not
new.
selling.
No, but it's always considered to be new. Even if you wear it, it's not like potato kugel or machinery. Because once you use it, it's considered to be second hand. Jewelry will always stay first hand. All you got to do is
Polish it.
put it back on display.
I wait.
You put it back. You used it one night.
Let's say a guy had a very expensive glass.
I want to clarify something. What happened to the deal what we had? If we have something on the table and you need the makom.
Yeah, but that's not for muktzeh machmas chesron kiss. That's muktzeh klisha melachta l'isser. Yeah.
הטלפון שלי, אני לא צריך אותו עכשיו, אני צריך את השולחן, כדי להזיז אותו, והוא לא דלוק, הוא
זה פטיש שיש לו שתי צדדים, אתה יכול להשתמש אותו.
רבותיי, paintings, tapestries, needleworks that are on the wall are not muktzeh.
On the wall or
Paintings, tapestry, or needleworks hanging on the wall are not muktzeh. They may be handled, even removed from the wall for a guest to examine. In the shul, the Modim de Rabbanan sign, these signs right here are not muktzeh at all. You can take them off, walk around with them. Okay? They're okay to walk around with. Just to look at a few examples he brings over here. Wow, guys.
אני אומר, שאני צריך את המקום שלו. מי נתן לטלפון הזה, נתן לו מישהו חמת מטורפית? כמה עולה טלפון? עולה $600, 500, $300? זה חסטורפית?
You have a nice crowd there today.
Yeah, since I get the sushi, get everybody some bar over here. Okay, fine,
אנחנו עכשיו לקחנו ואמרנו שהטלפון זה חסטורפית. מי אמר זה חסטורפית? בשביל זה לא חסטורפית.
Fine, we're gonna end it over here. I need everybody a little bit more calm for next time. Okay. Okay.
I didn't really care for it. זה לא מוקצה לך בשדות, סופי. 1 point.
That it became. That it became. Right. משהו לא. Okay. Over here, we have 10, we have a Kaddish. Okay, בי העניין בקשה אומר, עשה הקדוש ברוך הוא זכור ישראל, לפי כך חיברם את המצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען